Should the New York Knicks try to make a trade for the offensively skilled veteran big man Nikola Vucevic of the Chicago Bulls? We're going to break that down on today's show as NBA insider Jason Burgos has named the New York Knicks as the top trade destination for Nikola Vucevic. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you in the comments section. Pick a big man. If you had to have only one of these fellas on the team next year, who would it be? Are you rolling with the offensive guy or the defensive guy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for stopping by, and it's good to be back. Was out of town over the weekend, so didn't get as many videos out as I would have liked, but we're back from Mexico. We got a little bit of a tan/sunburn, but I'm ready to dive into today's topic. As we know, the New York Knicks have checked around the association, according to multiple New York Knicks insiders, trying to make a trade for a veteran big man. And Jason Burgos of Sportsnot, he thinks Nikola Vucevic could be that guy. He wrote this and said, after Isaiah Hartenstein departed in free agency, the New York Knicks have been on the hunt for a potential replacement. They could go back to starting center Mitchell Robinson, but his long injury history could short-circuit their championship hopes next season. That is why he could be included in a deal along with reserve guard Miles McBride for Nikola Vucevic. Robinson is a better rim protector and offensive rebounder, but Vucevic is levels above Robinson as a scorer, is still a good rebounder, and most importantly, stays healthy. There's a lot I have to say about this trade when it comes to Nikola Vucevic, but the first thing that really comes to my mind when I see it is he is an extremely offensively skilled big man. Last year, 18 points per game, shot 48.4% from the deck, and it seems like every single year that he plays, he's giving you 18 and 10. He can score from three. He can score inside the paint. He's got that little push shot Isaiah Hartenstein has, and I think that he could take the New York Knicks offense to another level. You look at what he's done the last 4 years, playing a little bit for the Bulls. He's also played for the Orlando Magic. I mean, this guy is a walking double-double, averaging almost 11 rebounds per game over the last 4 seasons. Shot just 29.4% from three this year. That's one of the lower numbers he's had in his career, but he's averaging 4.8 three-pointers attempted per game. So he is a guy that could be involved in a pick and pop with a guy like Jalen Brunson or anybody that's handling the ball. He would space out the Knicks offense, and he would provide the New York Knicks with another guy that they could look to generate offense and be an engine for this team when it comes to scoring the ball and creating for others. Not nearly the offensive playmaker Isaiah Hartenstein is, but over the last 4 years, he's averaging 3.4 assists per game. He's skilled, he can score, he owns the boards, and he can create for others as well. You look at where he does most of his damage on the floor, and it's from that foul line down and in that range of 3 to 10 feet. I like to call that the Isaiah Hartenstein push shot really operating from the dotted line. That's where he likes to do most of his work, and then he goes above the break when it comes to him operating in a pick-and-pop setting. So he could score from three. He can get a little mid-range game going as well. From 3 to 10 feet this year, he shot 54.9% on 379 attempts. So he's getting a lot of volume there. He also shot 157 shots from 10 to 16 feet, knocking it down at 47%. So he can score from multiple spots on the floor, and he's actually been pretty solid in his playoff career. Back in 2020, he averaged 28 points per game, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and shot 50% from the field and 40.9% from three. Then 2 years later, as a member of the Bulls against the Milwaukee Bucks, where they lost in 5 games, he averaged 19.4 points per game, 12.4 rebounds, and giving you 3 more assists and still good efficiency from the field, while the three-point percentage did dip a little bit. So you're getting a guy that's a walking double-double. He could score 20. He's going to get you 10 boards. He's going to be efficient on the offensive end. But most importantly for me, like Burgos mentioned, is he does not miss games. 76 games in 2024, 82 games in 2023, 73 games in 2022. He's 70 games in 2021, 62 games in 2020, 80 games in 2019. He's available, he's dependable, and he's extremely skilled. But does it make sense for the New York Knicks to trade for him? We're going to try to figure out a trade that makes sense, because I don't love the idea of trading Mitchell Robinson in a deal for Vooch. He's much younger, and I think he can have a bigger impact on winning. But what about if we could find a trade where you keep Robinson and you add Vooch? I try to do that coming up in a second. But first, I got to tell you about our proud sponsor, Game Time, the #1 ticketing app in the game. It's the best, I promise. I've tried them all. Game Time's the best. And you can save $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply if you use the promo code ChatSports. Some things I love about Game Time are it's the best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed. Prices also drop as the events get closer, and you get to have a view of the field, court, stage, whatever it is, because you can go to Giants games, you can go to Knicks games, you can go to Mets games, you can go to Yankees games, you can go to concert, theater events, comedy shows, and more. You get to see what your view is going to look like when you're debating on which ticket you want to buy in the app. Last-minute tickets and flash deals. Flash deals, they're going to let you know when the best deal is going on. Get the views from the seat, which I love, and I think we can all agree that if you get the lowest price guaranteed, you're going to love using that app. It's super user-friendly. I used it to go to the Home Run Derby this year. You can go to more baseball games. Football season's right around the corner. First game for the Giants on the 8th of August. And that's next week. Can't wait, baby. Get ready to go for that. Maybe you want to go to the Knicks games this year. You can do that. Terms apply, and first purchase only when you get $20 off when you use code ChatSports. Create an account. Use code ChatSports. Get $20 off. That's CHATSPORTS. Chat Sports is the promo code. That information will be clickable down in the comments and description of today's show. Before I give you my trade idea, I know there's probably people like, Marshall, they're not going to trade him. Well, Mark Stein says this. Vucevic should be far easier for Chicago to trade, given that he has just 2 seasons left on his contract at totally slightly above $41 million, and with proven big men harder to find. The early indications, though, suggest that a move involving the 33-year-old is more likely to materialize during the season than before it. So maybe the Knicks look to make a move for him at the trade deadline or whatever it may be. And as good as I think he is on offense, and I do think he'd be a good fit here, I'm just not sure Nikola Vucevic is the Tom Thibodeau guy. We saw with Evan Fournier, he was reluctant to play the offensive player that didn't give you much juice on defense. We saw with Bojan Bogdanovic prior to the injury that Tibbs didn't necessarily trust him to play long stretches of minutes. We saw the Knicks bench Kemba Walker. Yes, he was washed at that point, but if you can't play defense at a high level, and unless your name is Jalen Brunson or Julius Randle, Tom Thibodeau probably isn't going to trust you and play you in crunch time. But on the flip side, the counter argument to that is, while he may not be an elite defender, he is an elite offensive player. And we know Tom Thibodeau is a coach that has had some shortcomings in the playoffs of offensive creativity. That's been one of the bigger, I would say, question marks and really things that people hold against Tom Thibodeau is the lack of creative offensive juice. So how about you give Tom Thibodeau as much offensive firepower as you can. You give him as many players that can score the basketball. That way, maybe the talent can kind of outshine the lack of offensive coaching and really preparation that Tibbs has been criticized for and maybe even held him back in his days in Chicago. I think it could make some sense. But I'm not trading Mitchell Robinson for Nikola Vucevic. He's much younger. He's a much better defensive player, a 10 times the shot blocker and offensive rebounder, and he's younger. And I'm a bigger fan of Mitchell Robinson. But I will say this. I think Vooch can help the Knicks. I really, really do. But his $20 million salary in the 2024-2025 season makes a trade really tricky. And that's why Burgos earlier mentioned the idea of trading Mitchell Robinson. He makes $14 million. You put the 14 with Mitch. You put the 4 with Miles McBride. And you're almost there. So how can the Knicks make a move for Vucevic, who the Bulls are trying to trade, and keep Mitchell Robinson? What about a sign and trade for Precious Achiuwa? One, what the hell is going on with Precious Achiuwa? The fact that he's still a free agent and he is by far the best big man left in free agency, and the Knicks have not re-signed him, tells me they are trying to keep all of his options open. And the fact that Beckley has mentioned time and time again that the Knicks have been in constant communication with Achiuwa tells me they have probably talked to him about the idea of a sign and trade. Unsure if they've done that with Chicago. But what about this? What about you find a way in a sign and trade to make Precious Achiuwa a 3-year deal where only the first year is guaranteed, which you can do, and just match that salary with Nikola Vucevic? Because the only way I'm trading for Vucevic is if I get to keep Mitchell Robinson. And why would the Bulls do that? There's multiple reasons. But what about the Bulls sign Precious Achiuwa, 3 years, $60 million total, $20 million the first year. It could be a descending contract. It could be non-guaranteed. It's just a one-year deal. And it's the exact same money as Nikola Vucevic's contract. And it's a straight-up swap. Vooch for Precious Achiuwa. I'm saying yes to that. And I even think the Chicago Bulls would say yes to that. Yes to that. Patrick Seatman, my good friend and former producer of New York Knicks Now, he hosts our Chicago Bulls channel, and he told me the Bulls want to move Vooch. Mark Stein, he tells you the Bulls want to move Vooch. Because you might be saying, well, Marshall, why would the Bulls even do that? Seep says he would do this in a heartbeat. He said he thinks the Bulls would do it, and he said he would do it in a heartbeat. And if you're asking why, here's some context. The Chicago Bulls, they get to move off of Nikola Vucevic's contract a year earlier. We showed you a second ago that he's making $20 million this year and $21.4 million next year. They do not want to pay a 35-year-old $21.4 million in 2025 and 2026. But on top of that, they have their first-round pick in the 2025 NBA draft is top 10 protected. Meaning, if they are the 11th pick, 12th pick, they don't get to keep the pick. So I'm not saying Chicago wants to lose games. I'm not saying they're trying to tank. But what if you trade them Precious Achiuwa and a couple of second-round picks, and they get to get off the contract, and they get to keep their first-round pick? That seems pretty enticing to me. I think Vucevic would help the Knicks. He's an offensively skilled player, but I'm not dealing Robinson, and I hope that they can try to get creative in a sign and trade with Precious Achiuwa. Shout out to everybody that tuned into today's show. If you haven't yet, give me a follow over on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG @MarshallGreen_.